The story begins with two professional thieves surveilling a target, identifying the man as David Bloom from their intel. They note that Bloom follows a precise, clockwork schedule and confirm his evening plans to ensure a clear window. The duo successfully hacks into the external camera feeds, watching as Bloom departs for his scheduled speaking engagement. The female thief urges her partner to focus on the alarm, and they banter playfully while decoding the security entry numbers. They eventually crack the 4-digit access code for the gate, then scan the monitors to assess the property layout. The man spots a concealed safe within the main office, and they agree to make this final heist their greatest success. However, the male thief gets distracted by a dirty phone, until his partner scolds him, refocusing them on the mission. With the timeline set, they prepare to execute the plan. Meanwhile, David Bloom addresses a crowd about addiction recovery, admitting that he once misunderstood the nature of the disease. He describes how addiction devastates families and destroys trust, confessing that it has wreaked havoc on his own life. To combat this, he pledges a significant financial donation, praising the tireless efforts of the foundation's leader. He invites Megan Thomas to the stage to accept the gift. Back at the hideout, the thieves realize time is short. The woman packs a sentimental object, deciding to let go. They depart, aiming to catch a flight to freedom later. She grabs her bag, signaling she is ready to leave. Arriving at the house, the man disables the security app, confirming that the home's defenses are now fully deactivated. The duo shares a look of determination before entering, and they slip through the front door into the residence. Carefully, they ensure the coast is clear in the hallway, and the woman confirms their path is safe to proceed. Moving deeper inside, they finally breach the main living area. The male thief instructs his partner to grab the watches, and she acknowledges the order as they begin looting. Jason works on the safe, admiring Mr. Bloom's travel history, but the heist abruptly fails when Bloom returns home unexpectedly. After a violent struggle, Jason ends up with a gunshot wound, forcing Sarah to quickly tend to his bleeding injury. Realizing they must clean up, they drag Bloom upstairs, where they restrain the homeowner with rope to secure the area.
Let's go.
He saw your face.
I don't care.
We can't just leave.
Jason argues that leaving guarantees capture due to his blood.
If they find us, we catch that flight to Cancun. But when we stop,
So he darkly suggests they must silence Bloom permanently. Sarah vehemently rejects the idea of murder, refusing to cross that line. But Jason, desperate to avoid prison, insists they have no choice. Bloom taunts them, revealing he secretly triggered the panic button. And Sarah aims her gun as Bloom tries to bribe her. But the tension spikes when the security company calls the house. They scramble to dismiss the alert as a simple accident, only for the operator to demand the security password confirmation. The skeptical security operator demands the correct password from David, but he feigns confusing memory loss regarding the new code. And when the agent refuses to bypass the strict security protocols, David claims he is accessing his personal computer files. He finally provides the correct override code to the dispatch, and the operator advises him to secure the panic remote. So David hangs up the phone with a sarcastic, biting remark. He mocks Jason for lacking the nerve to pull the trigger, so the thief lowers his weapon to find some rope, and Jason checks the nightstand since they have no binding supplies. While David shouts for the intruders to leave his house immediately, Jason suddenly freezes upon finding a stack of hidden photographs, and he realizes the images depict exploited children and recoils in horror. He furiously accuses the homeowner of being a sick predator, and David frantically insists he has never seen the pictures before, but Jason is too disgusted to listen to the lies, so he steps away, overwhelmed by the horrific nature of the discovery. David pivots to taunting Sarah about her dark future in prison, but she screams at him to stop talking immediately, and he continues his verbal assault despite her clear and angry warnings. While the thieves agree that he is a complete monster, they discuss the best method to end his life quickly, realizing they must kill him to eliminate any potential witnesses, so they debate making the death look like a standard suicide. Sarah notes that strangulation marks would look very suspicious, though Jason argues the toys explain the invisible bruising, and they consider staging a fatal fall to mask the murder. But Jason dismisses choking as it lacks the right framing. David begs them to just take the money and leave, so Jason threatens to bury him with the incriminating photos. and David shouts that the thief planted the evidence himself. Jason demands the gun to finish the job now, but Sarah suggests using carbon monoxide in the garage instead. Yet Jason rejects the plan as far too painless. Jason attempts to prioritize his injury over the mess in the room, but his partner sternly insists he go fetch the bleach immediately. Left alone with the captive, David taunts that Jason will fry for this. The prisoner warns that Jason will not leave the house alive tonight, asking for the identity of the man holding him hostage. Jason ignores the threat and returns to searching the room for leverage. David tries to sow discord by claiming the woman is playing Jason, warning him that she intends for him to take the fall. However, she interrupts the psychological game by revealing a discovery from the closet. She shows off a supply of high-grade medical drugs hidden in the house, proposing they stage an accidental overdose instead of a suicide. They agree that the homeowner is a criminal who deserves this fate. She advises Jason to go wash up while she handles the situation. Once she leaves the room, David immediately targets Jason's insecurities again. He calls the woman a black widow who might kill Jason next. After a few minutes, Jason struggles to pry the bullet from his arm, so his partner finds surgical tools in the drawers to assist him. She comments on the convenience of finding medical supplies in the room. She takes charge of the painful procedure to extract the metal slug, eventually holding up the bloody bullet with a sense of triumph. She realizes Jason left his backpack on the downstairs balcony, which complicates their plan to stage the body in the bathroom. They decide to make it look like David slipped and hit his head, and she praises Jason's endurance while preparing the fatal overdose. She instructs him to clean up every track to ensure their safety. David desperately argues that the gun and drugs do not belong to him, insisting the woman planted the incriminating evidence before Jason arrived. He claims she knew his schedule and is hunting for something specific, urging Jason to think critically about why she is stalling escape. Jason reflects on how a few minutes changed their fate that night, lamenting that bad timing previously cost him his daughter, Amy. He blames himself for failing to protect his family in the past, and feels that a curse has followed him despite his attempts to reform. His partner tries to comfort him by insisting it was not his fault. However, Jason is overwhelmed by the feeling that he cannot escape. Finally, he suggests that she should leave him behind to save herself. Sarah stands firm in the hallway, insisting she is capable alone, and she urges Jason to walk away to leave this behind. However, she finally voices the darkness consuming her, admitting her desire, in a confession that only makes Jason more determined to stay. Their moment of connection is shattered when David suddenly shouts a warning, drawing attention to a woman who has just entered the house. And Sarah quickly composes herself to confront the newcomer near the foyer, and she coolly explains that the homeowner is occupied with company. The woman is suspicious but hesitates to push past the stranger, and so she eventually relents, leaving a venomous message for David. The thieves exhale in relief as the front door finally closes. But Jason is left alone to listen as David dissects the situation. And the hostage points out that Sarah targeted a famous defense attorney, specifically, and he argues that professional thieves seek easy money rather than risks. He urges Jason to stop before the situation spirals further out of control. And when Sarah returns, she dismisses the encounter as nothing, and she insists the woman is a non-issue, despite David's biting mockery. But the atmosphere tightens again when headlights sweep across the living room, and this sends Jason to the window where he mutters panicked prayers, and until he confirms the vehicle is simply turning around outside. And the adrenaline crash clarifies his thinking, leading him to confront Sarah. And he demands to know why she violated their code with a gun. She tries to deflect, but David interjects to insist she is lying. Desperate for the truth, Jason demands to check the stolen watches. And when David asserts they were never in her bag, and the inconsistency fractures Jason's trust, forcing him to realize the truth. He finally snaps, accusing her of planning a murder she cannot execute. Jason tries to abort the mission, sensing deception. However, David recognizes the female intruder, identifying her as Sarah. He reveals intimate knowledge of her past to sow discord. Urwin mentions her sister Lucy, claiming she was an addict. And he insists Lucy committed suicide, pushing Sarah to a breaking point. And so Sarah screams that David murdered her sister, exposing her true motive. Jason realizes he was manipulated into this crime from the start. And he confronts Sarah about staging the photographs to frame David. and Jason demands to know why she used his love against him. And Sarah pleads that she never intended to hurt him. Jason decides to release the captive, defying Sarah's wishes. But she draws her weapon and commands him to submit. As Sarah insists, he will not interfere with her plan, and then she binds his hands, removing him from the equation. Sarah admits she no longer recognizes who she has become, and while David mocks the situation, claiming he predicted this outcome, Jason begs Sarah to reconsider her violent path, and bound on the floor, he asks if David killed the sister. David denies the accusation, claiming he actually loved Lucy, and he describes their passionate, drug-fueled history together. David confesses that Lucy was vibrant and full of life, but he admits he ended the affair to save his reputation. He claims he panicked when his wife threatened to ruin him, and though he squeezed her heart by leaving, he insists she chose the needle as her only coping mechanism. He vehemently denies killing her, stating he loved her deeply, before pivoting to warn Jason that Sarah is mentally unstable. David urges Jason to find the knife in his back pocket, and after a struggle, Jason manages to secure the weapon. When Sarah returns, Jason pleads with her to stop the madness, asking her if their entire relationship was just a calculated setup. Sarah confesses that falling in love was never part of her plan, but the moment is shattered when Jason cuts David's bonds. David declares they are even, and begins hunting Sarah through the house, taunting her to come out as she hides in the shadows. He moves through the hallway, trying to provoke a reaction, but suddenly, a drunk neighbor named Jack stumbles inside. Jack accuses David of hiding his wife Julie at the party, and David tries to de-escalate the situation by claiming it is a bad time. Jack refuses to leave and belligerently starts a countdown, so the confrontation ends abruptly when David kills the intruder. Leaving the body, David resumes his terrifying search for Sarah, and he loudly rehearses a fake story for the police. He claims he was attacked by two drug-addicted thieves, mocking Sarah for ending up on her knees just like her sister. David corners her in the house, asserting there is nowhere left to run, and he gleefully promises to inflict the same fate upon her. David clutches his injury, admitting Sarah caught him in the leg, but he urges her not to run, since they are family. He promises to drag her up to witness her boyfriend's death, and he taunts her futile attempts to escape his closing net. When he finally corners her, he offers a mocking, insincere apology, forcing her to make eye contact as he asserts his dominance. He coldly admits he supplied the drugs that caused her sister's suicide, and he viciously predicts that Sarah will meet the exact same fate. The tension explodes into final violence, ending with a sudden scream,